yeah, when I heard from you, basically like this is a conversation that I want you guys to participate and to be proactive. So maybe setting the stage of what are the new things that blew your mind in terms of coding.
Well, a lot of things, to be honest. I know many of you guys have used the cloud, right? And it's all over the Twitter and what is possible with cloud, right? Um, and it's just mind blowing. Like now you can just one shot many of the applications and like just build any websites or anything you want. And yeah, like it- what once was like a process of like 1 week or a few weeks, it just takes like a prompt and like a maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and voila, like everything is ready. So yeah, that's the reality of the current landscape in the software engineering. And some of the cool things I noticed is some people like using mobiles on the go, and like they use the SSH, like they have their own VM running, and the VM is running the cloud on on the cloud, and they just use like SSH from their phone on the go, and whenever they want to, they need to take some action, they take the action, and most of the things is on the agentic loop. So the AI is working on this task, and it, it would barely require any human inputs. So yeah, those are some of the things that's currently possible. But I would like to know more about like what you guys have seen in the Twitter, and what you saw, or like what is your workflow like, and what do you think is possible now?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. Here's my take. Yeah, over the last few months, the thing that changed the game is Opus 4.5. Now, I've been using it and just paying €190 subscription a month. If we were to quantify the work in just traditional human hours or payments, it would be in the six figures. So, and we know that they're operating at a loss in terms of inference costs, and that's expected to go up, maybe even be prohibitive as a price point. I think competing in this new space, in this new environment, in the traditional sense, is kind of pointless. I mean, it's not an even playing field. However, there are people and organizations that are allocating resources to finding ways to counteract this centralization of power. And if we lean into our decentralization focus and experience, we might be able to access those resources. We are in a great position to do that, actually, if we come up with coherent proposals for that. So the funds that are being directed, public and private funds, are quite a lot. And we have people with academic credentials, we have people with published papers or kid profiles, and all sorts of skills. So I think that would be a good effort to pursue. Also, with respect to the assets, I think we should move away from USD. This doesn't feel good to say. Both in the treasury and in any new arrangements that we make with clients, we might insist that they're not denominated in USD. What to grasp is not clear. I mean, the euro seems like an obvious choice. Also the Japanese yen. So that's my take. I yield. Always wanted to say this. I yield my time.
I don't have I haven't used Cloud Opus 4.5 yet. I mean I hear impressive things, and but the last AI model that I used for like any sort of like vibe coding type thing was GPT 5.1. I found that um I found that like it required like in order to use it like effectively, it required like a lot of human intervention, a lot of reviewing and modifying code, and it wasn't able to do what I wanted in like a quality and scalable, like to write like quality, like scalable, like maintainable code, uh, that without human intervention and effort, and without like a lot of really careful uh like prompting and context procurement, and or not procurement, but what's the word? Curation. Um, so I don't know if Cloud Opus 4.5 like really changes things that much. Clearly, the direction that things are headed are that the AI models are doing more and more to they're better, they're more and more able to replace like developers' tasks, but I think they're far from replacing developers themselves. And like developer uh the like jobs for developers are still like probably going to grow, and the market, there's still like a job market out there. Like companies are still hiring, and like companies are not replacing developers with AI yet. So I think that it might be. I don't know if maybe I just like am not as familiar with developments over the last few months, and that's kind of crazy, like to think about that, like a few months, things are changing every few months, right? But like I'm not sure that we need to like talk about things in terms of uh like developers being just totally replaced or something like that quite yet. Also, I just want to mention I didn't understand the thing about moving away from the US dollar. Like why? What was that about? I mean, the US dollar is still the most stable currency, right? Like on Earth, and I think it's fine, and it's still it's great, and I mean, yeah, like I mean, it's great in terms of like it functions very well as a currency, right? Like for example, I'm living in Russia, right? And the ruble, I would say, is an okay currency, but it's volatile. It can be volatile at times. Um, I wouldn't want to store all my money in rubles, but you can kind of uh, expect the U.S. dollar not to have like crazy inflation or something like that. Like I don't see the concern. I mean, it certainly had less inflation than the euro. Sorry, like I don't mean all the like the global currencies had like after COVID, people are making eyes. After COVID, governments around the world printed and spent a lot of money, and there was inflation across uh, like most major economies. So that's what I meant. And
I'm just going to
yeah,
cut.
so
Oh, sorry. The
yeah, go on.
conversation is
Sorry.
really like, no worries. Just I think it's a very, very interesting topic, and I have also like pros and cons around this. But I think I really want to keep the conversation towards AI because I know that we have like very short time. So yeah, I appreciate if anybody like has thoughts around like what Chris said around like AI being replaced or not yet, if that's like a scenario that are currently facing or not, or how we sort of like we can be proactive to that not happening to us. And I mean like each of you like individually. Go ahead, me.
Yeah, like in that sense, like following kind of like a Chris train of thoughts. I'm doing like a master class of AI and things like that. And yesterday we were seeing like a vibe coding, like you can do like different websites / applications, and then you need to have like iterations. So you have something that is minimal functional, and something that they mention is like, it's something that is kind of like a for small groups of people, or there is not up yet that someone can create and then sell it for thousands or millions of people to use in it. So that's one. Secondly, I'm pretty sure that the app that I can do is gonna be completely different than the one that Chris, Asger, Leo can do, because the technical knowledge they have about how the architecture works is completely different the one that I have. So mine is gonna crumble pretty easy. But if you're a senior and you understand the theory and you have the experience behind that, I think is more solid application. It's about how you can be a little bit like how you can be more effective with your time, effective with your money, but it's not gonna replace, because if they know how to do it, they're gonna be more conscious about how they're building it rather than me that I have no idea. And then on top of that, we need to take into consideration security matters, right? Because we have seen builders using AI without no security test, no nothing. And then when we try to give it to the client, the code had bugs. So even if you understand how you can do with that, you need to understand what are the best practices to do with that as well. So I think in that sense, we have 2-3 selling points about why AI is good and how a software developer can leverage AI. And I made it.
Go ahead, Asger.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if it's a different point of view, but at least my view is that it can replace most of software developers, at least in what we are doing, because the way we work with it, it's like when we started building this, maybe 2 years ago, that's probably when we started to see AI coding. So we have built the whole like stack. This is for Keep. It's built around using AI, right? And solving problems with AI. And every time we had like some software decision, it's like, what's the easiest for AI to understand? And this is the way we have worked all the way until now. And now it's like a complex, big infrastructure. And still I can one shot like very complex. For instance, when I was on vacation like a couple of months ago, then I were on the beach, right, with my cell phone, and I created this task that we're going to focus on payouts. So we need to create payouts. And then I could just define payouts like a short definition for the task, and then I used GitHub Copilot, or what it's called, the GitHub agents, and then the GitHub agents went off like 30 minutes and built it like very close to it, what I needed, and then I'm back at phone an hour later, just seeing over it and seeing, here's a weird thing, and then it's finished in an hour, like then it's working. But this was months ago, maybe 6 months ago. Oh, and now today I can say like I want this is totally new. For instance, now we're going to be a merchant of record for some customers, and then I said the information I need, and now it's giving me that information back in like 10 minutes. But before, when we worked with other developers and I sent this task to developers, then I would say 50% of the time what I got back, at least 50%, what I got back was worse than what AI is giving back today. And still I have to like answer, like this needs to change this, and then it's maybe 2 hours or 3 days, or 2 days, then I get the answer back. And then, that loop goes for like, a couple of days. But now that loop can happen with AI. It can happen like in an hour, what would use maybe a week before, because the front and back is so
past. And if you set up like everything correctly and also like the co-pilot instructions and been thinking of this since you started building it, then it's like, it's amazing. Like we have said, at least to me, this is how it works. So for me, we had before one developer who helped us, and I would say that after that developer left and I'm alone with AI agents, I would say that we have 10x our speed, just because I don't need to explain this so thoroughly, because AI understands much more than many junior developers, I would say, and maybe medium developers. So yeah, this at least my understanding. So what I think is currently every project needs is like a expert who can review the code and can give feedback. And that's like a whole job. It's architecture and it's feedback to the agents and reviews. Like this is the way I see it now. And I almost never write a line of code because it's not needed.
Wow. Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, hey, it's a really cool initiative, and really interesting points. Yeah, I can mostly agree with all these things that that the industry is already kind of transforming, and all of us incorporate these tools in one way or another into our workflows, and we've all seen it fail also, probably, many hiccups, and some of them more or less devastating, but things are getting better. But like on the larger scope of things, I think, probably this example everyone always brings up, but throughout the history and so on, there have been always technological innovations, and especially ones that transformed the industry. There's been the engine, and suddenly people didn't have to walk anymore, and then there has been the computer, and people said, oh, we don't have to do it will replace most of the tasks we are doing, and actually it did. But one thing that is always kind of staying there is the technician who's repairing it, or who's building it, who's repairing it. So is it the car mechanic? Is it the programmer on the computer? Or is it like some like AI infrastructure designer? I don't know what is the future for this kind of technician. But at the end of the day, if the app breaks and there's no technician, and you try to interrogate it, and there's some issue with the AI setup, then you need someone who knows how it works. But yeah, we don't know how this landscape will transform. But it seems to me that maybe the classic developer might not be there, but there will be slowly a transition towards people who are technically skilled in like, I don't want to say a prompter, but like, someone who's able to maybe engineer the architecture that does the prompts, or someone who knows how to write the correct prompts, and maybe this human in the loop, because after all, every code that I've written after the boilerplate stage, it quickly at the moment stretches the boundaries of most AIs, even if it's like agentic and iterating on itself. It sometimes just does the most natural thing, but not what I want. But yeah, I think this is maybe the future, that like we become technicians of AI infrastructure.
Neeraj.
Yeah, I agree with all the points, and I think engineers are not going to get replaced, as Leo and Chris said. I believe like we as engineer has like an edge compared to the people who are just white coding and who don't know the system. We actually understand the system, and we can design the architecture, right? So you can notice a difference when you feed the AI architecture versus you just prompt it, right? If you give it a plan, and nowadays, like, you can also refine the plan with the plan mode in the AI. So when you give it a plan and it creates the things, like, it divides the plan into different tasks, the quality of the output will increase. And also, as the Andre said, like, most of these models are heavily subsidized. So as an engineer, if you know how to actually get the output you want with the less token, that would also be a skill that would be helpful in the future, because there will be some people who would be using more token to get the same thing done, versus people who would be optimizing for token and getting things done for, like, less token. And that will also be something that will yeah that will be helpful in the future.
Okay, Luis, go ahead, and then we jump into the next topic.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for the invitation. I think this is an interesting topic, and I think it goes beyond Web3 or how to stay like hireable in the Web3 ecosystem with AI. And it's not only engineering wise, it's also like product wise. Like it's a big shift. For example, at my current job, just last Friday, our CEO, who doesn't know how to code, I mean, like he doesn't know how to code, he built a personal assistant connected to Linear, Google Calendar, and Notion with Cloud Code, and it works surprisingly very well. Like very similar to what Cloud Code released like a couple of days ago, which is Cloud Code Cowork. So that gives you a clear idea of where AI is taking everyone, not just engineering, but also product, like people that is not totally technical. So building tools is not longer like a main barrier. It's not like a blocker. That gives you a clear idea of where AI is taking everyone. And we as an engineer need to understand this, in my opinion, because product-wise and engineering-wise, what matters now is knowing what to build and how to trust it and how to scale it safely. So for engineers, especially senior ones, the value is shifting. I would say shifting away from just writing code to owning the architecture, quality, and judgment. I think those are the things that AI cannot take, and that's something that I have seen. Like I was not trusting AI 1 year ago, and basically right now AI creates all the code, and I'm the guy that is judging the code. So I think it's a change of software development paradigm. So yeah.
Just building on what Louis said. So like humans as the so AI writes the code and humans are like judging the code and ensuring quality and everything. Like so the AI it still impresses me what I see. Like sometimes like people say like, oh, AI built this and stuff, and like I think AI, it seems like it's getting better and better, of course, at building like smaller apps. But one thing I think it still struggles on is like larger code bases and bigger apps. Like the AI seems to struggle more and more as the project progresses and the code base increases. And yeah, I know that there's progress in like not just like the context size, but the quality, how well the AI understands and uses its own context. But like one area where we might suggest we add value, in addition to like understanding the code, understanding like architecture and things like that, and ensuring quality and everything like that. One area where we might add value is like larger code bases, or Yeah. Essentially, I'm just suggesting that's one way that where humans are still having to judge. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to chime in the point about large code bases. In my current day job, we actually have a pretty large monolith, and I've actually been somewhat surprised at how effective like Claude Code has been, like using like an agent's MD file and like kind of building documentation that the Claude then like consumes and stuff. So yeah, I definitely, I don't know. Like there's a lot to decouple from AI because there's a lot of going on in the global economy, you know, politics and all sorts of stuff. So like sometimes it's hard to see like for the current kind of tech industry changes, how much is AI actually responsible for that? Like versus hype around AI versus like other unrelated things. But yeah, just wanted to chime in about that point that like actually just like within the past 30 minutes, I like generated some new tests like for a pretty large code base just using like Claude Code or prompts. And it conformed to existing patterns, which was pretty impressive.
And so seeing how you guys sort of like boost your productivity, and it's very interesting to see how like different users across like the different day jobs that you guys have, and sort of like how this converges as well in the way that you use it. Where do you think are the pain points in the overuse of the AI? What are the things that we need to be careful at? Because from what you said in the conversation, and I think I do the equivalent into the architecture building world, let's say, when I use AI. So it's more on being strategic, right? Like you have like executors, but you are the one deciding on the strategy and then ensuring the quality of the execution is fine. So we are in the beginning and the end of the whole cycle of from idea to delivery. Yeah, wanted to know your thoughts. I think Ben has the hand raised on, and Yash, go ahead.
Sorry, I just forgot to turn mine off. Yeah, it's off.
No worries.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big issue because as a consultancy, we need to provide the quality of code that client expects from us, since they are paying us premium for that, right? And so so there are like a few issues. Like one is the domain knowledge that an engineer needs to have while building the product, and also like so AI can write code, but the engineer should actually know what AI is writing, and he needs to like understand what it actually is doing, right? So when we don't understand the code and just like just commit it, right? Because AI has written it, and of course AI might also be writing the test, but if you don't know what it is actually doing, then it can create issues, and it can create the like it can create a worse quality of code, right? There is also, so yeah, like that's like my main the main thing that I observed.
I think there's Leo, and then we have Roberto.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, I mean, the same as Niraj. Like, I think at this stage, at least, there are quite a few perils in like writing code, purely with, AI assisted all the way until production. I mean, it's fine maybe to do a boilerplate, etc. Like, I don't know, I have like this, TG group, where I keep like hiccups And some of the major ones actually that I remember this year was quite interesting, actually, just because we're Solidity developers. So effectively we wrote, or some of our developers wrote a contract that with AI everything, and it used this EIP721 storage slot, so where you hash the slot where you put the variables, the state space variables, and obviously the idea with this storage slot is that it's some random number, it's hashed, and so it doesn't collide with anything else. And of course, the AI just does what AI does. It creates the most likely hash. It didn't actually create a hash. It just checked what else, what is the most likely thing, and it put another byte. I'm becoming maybe too technical here, but like it put basically like a hash there that already existed, and we didn't see this for a long time and had storage collisions, and actually the tests didn't pick that up either, because the tests are unit tests, and they didn't know about another storage slot being overridden. So these are like very nuanced things that are very hard to pick up even by adversarial agents unless you run this code, but that's quite advanced. And and then so that's like one of the examples, and there's a handful of them where there are major fuck ups, and sometimes you don't even see them. And the more the app is built entirely by AI, the less you can kind of interfere with it and understand what's actually happening underneath. And then that's like the danger. There's something going wrong. You don't know why. And you can maybe interrogate the AI, but actually the error is quite hidden underneath, and you can't solve it anymore because you lost track of actually how the code is actually structured properly. And and the last thing I recognized that as we all know, like it's great for boilerplate and byte coding. But as soon as you grow an app or some code base from some small part, from a seed to like a big tree, it's at this point at least quite tricky, I find, like how to refactor something and say, okay, now we take this out into a database and to build something bigger, because it's kind of mostly trained on boilerplate stuff. Surely this will change soon, but these are my two concerns at the moment.
Hello?
Hi, Maria, we can hear you.
Hey, how's it going? I wanted to jump in because I wasn't able to share in my input from the initial point. And it was just maybe to provide a couple of tips that I have found recently that have helped me out to use the tools in an effective way. And picking up, for example, from what Chris said, it's like I think that most junior developers to mid-level are slowly being phased out in the, let's say, in the demand. Their companies are trying to do things in-house now that the AI is able to do scripting and simple systems like this boilerplate code. So in that end, we have sort of a tool that we can use to build boilerplate more easily, more scripting, more fast than usual. And the other thing is that depending on what type of system you use to build your code and which foundational model you're using, you're going to get different type of results. So basically what I'm suggesting here is that instead of looking, for example, at Cursor, which is one of the products that I was initially very supportive of, is looking more so at the Google alternative that was launched recently, like Anti-Gravity. It's called Google Anti-Gravity. And it has, if you purchase like the AI subscription for Google, like you should have a lot of token usage to develop complex programs with Cloud, Opus, and Google Gemini, the big context version. So what I'm getting to add is that you can get to remember this saying that's like garbage in, garbage out, right? Like, so what you tell the model is what it's going to give you back. And the skill that we will need as a team in the org, and if we're going to use these tools and we're going to compete against people using these tools, is better speccing, like really being able, like some of the other members have said, be able to structure out the architecture on paper first, truly. And when that is very fleshed out, asking a couple of AIs, like using multiple models, Gemini, Grok even, and ask them, like, what suggestions do you have and what are the countermeasures that an adversary could use to break the system? And that will, like, bring up a lot of specific cases that normally we wouldn't have thought of. And again, flesh out the spec. So getting a really concrete and developed spec that could be pages long, like really detailed, and then passing on that to the agent, for example, on anti-gravity, can be something that is like more manageable to develop complex systems. It's something that wasn't so compatible, for example, with Cursor a couple of months ago. And that, in my opinion, is going to continue growing fast in the sense of that we will need to be able to spec out, architect, and prompt the correct way, and also do, like you mentioned, the hash issue, test-driven development, and taking a look at the tests, right? Because the AI is essentially going to cheat on the tests to pass them. It's going to make code that will pass the test on the go, and a lot of QA will be needed. So if you were to ask me personally where I think we could potentially like focus on is on the initial and the final part of the pipeline, where we have a very good person or a very good team that can spec out the projects, and also a very good person or team that can QA the results manually or in, testing the application and looking at the code, etc. So those were my initial thoughts for this conversation. And I wanted to also yield my time and hear what others had to say.
Yeah, I very much agree on that. Architecture is perhaps one of maybe the core thing that we provide. And this is also the way I've seen it, that in the beginning, I think AI is, if you're going to build a big project and not just a small toy thing, then I think in the beginning, AI is not that good, because you are trying like different architectures maybe, and you're changing a lot of stuff and things like that. And in my experience, refactoring with AI is a disaster. That's not very good at all. But it's good at working with pre-existing code and following patterns. So my experience is that when you have a small project and it's going to be something that you're going to maintain for some time, then it's hard to use AI in the beginning. And once you got the structure and you see like how things are done, and you have like the standards for how you do this and how you do that and that, then it becomes easier and easier to use AI. So because of that, I would say that it's much easier for us to implement something with AI today, with a big infrastructure we have today, than it was like with a smaller infrastructure a year ago. But this can be both for the models, both because of models are better, but also I think it's because when a code base grows, if you have good architecture and good standards, so you have this like in your Claude MD file or wherever, then it becomes very like, this is the way to do it, and therefore you can use AI very efficient, and it becomes better and better. But one other thing I want to say is that I think also a big part of our job is knowing when is speed most relevant and when is safety most relevant. Because if you're a junior developer, or maybe if you're like just a vibe coder, not knowing much about software development, then you don't know that this contract handles money, while this graphical UI logo thing that is like positioning the logo, that's something else, right? So that in some cases you need to be very strict and review very thoroughly, while in other cases maybe this is like some front end stuff that's if it's a little off here or to the side or something, it's not a crisis, right? So then we need to know like where is speed the most important thing and where is safety. And also when I talk about doing development with AI, I never talk about it like vibe coding. I always mean you should, at least most of the code, you should review, right? Just like you do with a normal developer. And then you can have that same flow. At least is that my experience. But of course, there's something that's not important at all that you can just, for instance, a footer on your web page. Like that's, that is maybe not the most important thing. That you can maybe just see, this is probably good. But, I think just that's an important task for developers going forward, I think. Yeah.
Andre, want to jump in before we sort of like start wrapping up the call and deciding on next steps?
Muted.
Is it me or
I cannot
Andre is not audible?
hear
Yeah.
Andre.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree that the first and the last part are most important right now in terms of doing it manually. So being able to write clear requirements and also doing quality assurance. The main pitfall, I think, is overdependence, but not because AI is not able to write good codes, but just because of the fact that it might go up in price, and then we might find ourselves in a position where we have this product that has been entirely built by the machine, and we cannot make heads or tails of it. So being very familiar with the code base is super important. I think that's one thing to, continue doing. That's it. Oh, sorry. Just one more point. In terms of the issues that AI has, the mistakes and all of that, setting up adversarial models, adversarial agents to keep each other in check, I feel like is a very efficient way of finding any and all issues, specifically where you can automate, even testing at the level of the UI with various web automation tools. So, that's also very much automatable.
That's really good, Deep, and I think it's very aligned with the things that you guys were saying as well in the chat. Guys, I wanted to ask you for like wrap ups, like how this conversation is useful. What can we sort of like decide as next steps, and also how hard or how easy it can be for you to sort of like keep up with the innovation, new tech, in a way that maybe is shared. Because at least for me, like sometimes it's very frustrating to say like, okay, I'm just getting used to this thing, but the next day you have like 3 other models, and what you've learned is already useless. So yeah, wanted to sort of like get your thoughts around that. Neeraj, prefer to jump.
I think we just need to utilize AI more than what we are currently doing. Like in the communications, in the engineering, in like many aspects of life. Like we can automate a lot of things, and if we talk about like Dior specifically, like we can generate a lot of content with like AI models, right? Like it can now do research and do thorough analysis and even create engaging article. And like if we keep posting this kind of article, it can help with the publicity, and it can help with the branding and all that stuff, right? So this is something we should use as a leverage, because now it's possible to write new article every day, right? You can in the engineering part, right? Like we can even create like tools, we can create demos, we can create apps with this with the Claude or like Cursor or any of the AI tools you are using currently, right? And we can just share this, and yeah, I think if we keep working, like if we keep building stuff, and if we utilize stuff, you utilize AI to create awareness of the org, it can help with the conversion of client, and yeah, potentially make us more hireable.
Totally. What about like the US steps as a, not like from the operations or more like the brand, but as individual and collective steps? What do you think could be like next steps, or in terms of like this type of conversations, or I don't know, like things that might pop up in your mind and you think like, oh, I wanted to learn more about like how this person uses AI, his workflow, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, maybe we should have more of this conversation, or like maybe just use the Discord and just screen share when people are vibe coding, or like even building or using AI, and share their flow. So like we can share our flow with each other, and help each other with using, like, improving their AI workflows. Because it would be greatly beneficial to everyone in the community of the org, if we keep improving our AI workflows.
Yeah, I just want to say that also if we get better and better at AI, right, then what do we really get left for it? Because we are paid by the hour almost, right? So we need to think, is this the correct way to get paid? Will this be the way people are paid in the future? Like, because now you have a developer who's good with AI, does maybe 10 times as much as a person who's not using AI. And now we're skilling up, becoming very good in AI. And now we're like giving much more value to the customer. So I think we also need to think about that, because I don't know that it makes sense to charge in the same way that we normally do and people normally do inside of software development. But I don't have an answer for this, but it feels like there's something we're just training up in AI and we're giving all the value away, right? So there's something here I think we need to think about.
Andre?
From the perspective of the client, they are looking for deliverables. They might be paying us for hours, but what they are looking for is the job to be done. So from that perspective, I don't think it matters really much what internal workflow we have. But there is this situation that we get better with AI. We become more reliant on it, and the price goes up. So this is something to consider, because it might be unaffordable.
Very briefly on that, I mean, I also kind of scared a bit about that, and I tried out various like local models and to reproduce, you know, I mean, I think what is it like the danger maybe is there, as you say, that you become overly reliant and maybe are even basically giving away data that you shouldn't. I mean, that's another actually risk that we didn't mention, that you give access to your code base and there is a couple of private keys there, etc. I would very much advocate to try to make local models that are as strong. I mean, like I played around a little bit with I don't know, some local llama models, and they are doing just fairly well. I mean, locally without any without giving away data. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't directly address your concern, but maybe to build like own architectures that basically work similar than Claude, because after all, the power comes mostly from the underlying models, and one can try to swap them out occasionally.
I just wanted to share quickly on the rising costs or the cost of LLMs being subsidized. So JetBrains developed their AI agent Junie, and they released it in April. And then so I use JetBrains IDs, and then in I used their agent to build like a website for my mom. It was cool. It was fun. But in August, because JetBrains is not a VC-backed company, they have a long history, and they're a more established company, and they need to use more traditional revenue models. So at first they were subsidizing AI usage, but then in August they stopped, and their credit quota. Because it's very opaque, like how many credits or how much of the quota is being used by AI models in JetBrains IDs. Or they would talk about improving that, but maybe they did. I don't know. But basically, you went from being able to use their AI agent quite a lot, while on their $20 a month subscription, to the subscription being price increasing to $30 a month. And suddenly everyone's complaining that they use their quota in 2 or 3 days. And what it reflected, JetBrains' response was essentially that, hey, we told you that this change was coming, and what this just reflects real prices that are no longer subsidized. So yeah, the AI models are actually really can be quite expensive if you're so yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I just wanted to share that the adjustment is a bit of a shock, and the pricing thing is real. I mean, it's getting cheaper, but
Thank you, guys. Any final thoughts? Roberto is saying that he's down to have another time to talk about this AI topic, and you can guys message him. Just wanna thank you every one of you to come here, and especially to Andre, who kickstarted this conversation, and because of him we are here today. So yeah, thank you, Andre, as well, for pushing that. Also to Neeraj, because he's daily pushing for AI implementations, testing, and sharing his tests and his new builds publicly. So I really appreciate it, and also any things that come up. So keep doing that, guys. Neeraj, let you do the final thought. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think we should also conduct something like mini hacks, because this was an idea in Polyrep, where we were having a weekly mini hacks, and all the members were cooking something every week. It can be content, it can be code, anything, right? And with AI now, it's possible to cook something, and we can have this kind of mini hacks, and every week we can just have a presentation where people just showcase what they build, and maybe even showcase their flow or something. And yeah, it can be fun, right? I know in the past, the org has a weekly sync, and then we we moved it to like a monthly, and yeah, now like the member participation has decreased a lot. It's I think we need to improve on that, and yeah, we need to like brainstorm and see like what people wants to see, right? And what people wants to engage in. So if we create a community like a community of engineers, then and then if everyone can provide the value, then I think it would be helpful for DORG as a whole.
Totally, and individually for each of the builders participating in it. So yeah, I can definitely see the value. Okay, that's a beautiful way to wrap up. Yeah, thank you again, guys. It was really nice to see you in the same room at the same time. So yeah, I hope we can repeat this anytime soon. Have a great one. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Bye bye.